Finally. My God. Well, hello there. I'm just trying to fix some of these settings here. Sorry about that. Let's see if you guys could even hear me. I'm just trying to fix some of these settings here. Sorry about that. Let's see if you guys could even hear me. I finally I turned off the hating on Deontay Wilder live stream. After it was going on for it went on for 33 hours. 33 hours, man. But it was time to turn it off, so 33 hours. Longest live stream I've ever did. 33 hours, man. Damn, I already got a few comments here. Who's this? I cannot pronounce her name. Maximus. Maximus. Well, going by the but wait. Well, going by what we have seen, the WBC clearly want to do everything they can to stop Whyte from fighting Wilder. I don't understand why, as I think Wilder has a good chance on landing that money punch on Whyte. I guess the WBC don't want to take any risk, as they want to make sure at least one belt is held by an American in order to keep interest in the heavyweight division. And you got a point there. Maximus. I do think that's one reason. Yo, B Ross. Wait, not B Ross, Ross B. B Ross. How you guys doing? Wait, what did I title this? Dilllian Whyte not fight. Wait. Dilllian Whyte not fight Deontay Wilder even being. I gotta fix my title, man. I gotta edit this title. Dilllian Whyte. I think I meant to say will not fight. Will not fight. Even being Mando, right? Save. I don't like this whole layout shit. All right. You got a lot to talk about, especially all the fights that happened last night. What was your thoughts on Whyte's performance? I think he did really well and showed some good ring IQ, and his jab was class. What did I think of Whyte performances? I thought Whyte was at least the commentators were saying that he was fighting immature type of fight. Whyte was using his left jab a lot. That's one thing I remember. He kept using his left jab, but I still saw some of the vulnerabilities that Dilllian Whyte has always had in his entire career, and that was that he doesn't do well when he's being pushed up against the ropes. But fortunately for him, what's his name? The dude who was fighting him wasn't taking advantage of that. I think he came in too heavy, though. He needs to stop coming in 250 plus. He'll perform best at around 245. Yeah, he came in out of shape. It looked like he was out of shape against Oscar Rivas. He looked fat in that fight. Sometimes Dilllian Whyte looks in shape. Sometimes he doesn't. I don't know if he came in that way on purpose because he thought it would help him against a guy like that, or maybe he just didn't have enough time to train. But I remember I made a video when the fight was first announced, and he looked fat in that press conference. I think it was the first press conference, and I made a video saying that he needs to lose weight. He lost some weight, but he was still, really clumsy on his feet and gets tired. Yeah, Dillian Whyte does look clumsy. Just his style. He looks kind of awkward. I don't know, and but he was trying to be disciplined, I think. Telling you something though, if any of those hard shots he caught, not Revis with lands on Wilder's jaw, Wilder's gonna be in trouble. Um, if he manages to land it on Wilder before Wilder lands his right hand on him, that's the thing. If he manages to land before Wilder lands, because it might be a thing where maybe Wilder lands his, because the thing is, I highly doubt that Dilllian Whyte is going to not respect Deontay Wilder. If they ever do fight, if they ever do, get in the ring with each other, I highly doubt that Dilllian Whyte will just go in there and come marching forward, showing no respect, because he understands that Deontay Wilder is a massive puncher. He says this over and over again in his. Every time they ask him about Wilder, he makes fun of Wilder style and stuff like that, but he always mentions the fact that he's a big puncher. So I don't think you're gonna see Dilllian Whyte just go in there, try and bum rush Deontay Wilder when he knows that if he does that, he could get caught with something. So I think you're gonna see Dilllian Whyte show a tad respect to Deontay Wilder. I think anyone who fights Deontay Wilder is going to show respect to him, unless you're crazy like Tyson Fury and you have your hands down by your waist and you don't care. But I don't think it's going to be a thing where you're just going to see Dilllian Whyte just try and like bull rush him. I think you're going to see a cautious Dilllian Whyte. That's what I'll say. Super cautious. So that's really it. Who lands first in that fight? And I've always picked Deontay Wilder to beat Dilllian Whyte. I've always said Dilllian Whyte will get knocked out by Deontay Wilder. I said it 2 years ago. I said it then and I'll say it now. Dilllian Whyte's going to get knocked out. You do realize Whyte won the fight, right? Yeah, I know Whyte won the fight. I saw the fight. Doesn't mean he could beat Deontay Wilder, though. Just because Whyte beat a certain guy doesn't mean he could beat Deontay Wilder. His left hooks was sneaky at times. Revis did well with his head movement to avoid them. What I'll say is this. Dilllian Whyte has been dropped by Anthony Joshua, by Joseph Parker, and now by Oscar Rivas. He's been dropped by 3 different heavyweights, right? So, if Deontay Wilder lands on him, he's going to be dropped. He's going to get dropped. But, the good thing about Dilllian Whyte is he got heart and he gets up and tries. Unless, like, he's tired or he gets hit really bad, like when he got dropped by Anthony Joshua. But I would pick Deontay Wilder to win. But I'm not really, I understand. I see like Dilllian Whyte and a bunch of people going around saying, well, now Deontay Wilder's going to fight Dilllian Whyte 100%, but you still have to wait like 10 months, and a lot of things could happen from here to then. First of all, Deontay Wilder has to get past Luis Ortiz. Also, Deontay Wilder has to get past Tyson Fury. What if Deontay Wilder loses against Luis Ortiz? What if he loses? Now people are going to be talking about Whyte versus Ortiz, the fight that everybody wanted to see. What if Wilder gets past Ortiz but loses against Tyson Fury? Then we're going to be talking about Tyson Fury versus Dilllian Whyte. So it's not really like a foregone conclusion that people will ever see Wilder versus Dilllian Whyte. And even if Even if, let's say, Wilder beats Ortiz this September, and then let's say he goes on to knock out. Let's say in February he fights Tyson Fury, and let's say he catches Tyson Fury, but this time Tyson Fury doesn't get up. He stays down forever, right? And they count him out, right? And he beats him, and then everyone's gonna be preaching about, okay, what Whyte's gonna be the mandatory 100%. Something could happen. So that's why I'm not. I know I don't. It was one of those things where you just have to wait and see until if it actually happens. Wait and see until it actually happens. I think guys like Rivas, Povetkin, Chisora would give Wilder trouble. Short fighters who like to take you on the inside and beat you up. Oh, Chisora will get knocked out cold against Deontay Wilder. Chisora's uh Chisora's one of those guys that you, you look at his resume, you think he's a journeyman. I mean, he is a journeyman with that type of resume. What do you got? 13 losses or something, but he always resurrects his career. But I would pick Deontay Wilder to beat him 100%. Povetkin, that's a tough fight for Wilder. That's a tough fight for Wilder. At least I think tougher than Derek Chisora. Derek Chisora is not a puncher. I understand he knocked out, I believe, I didn't see the fight, but I heard he knocked out Arthur Spilka. But Arthur Spilka has been damaged goods since he got put to sleep by Deontay Wilder. Like, Arthur Spilka has never been the same. He has never been the same since he got not put to sleep against Deontay Wilder. These are facts. Because after that, just look at his performances, that knockout over Deontay Wilder ruined his career. He went on to look horrible again. He's been looking terrible in all his last previous fights. That changed, like that knockout changed his entire him. It ruined him as a fighter. So, if you think about it, Chisora kind of fought a damaged goods Arthur Spilka. That's just what I think. Rivas would fight Wilder, but Rivas will never fight Deontay Wilder. So you shouldn't even talk about that because Rivas is never going to fight him. Povetkin's probably never going to fight Wilder either. Chisora, nobody really wants to see these fights. I mean, Wilder's not going to fight these dudes. None of these dudes. He didn't fight them back then. He won't fight them now. Stylistic nightmare for him. That's why he ran from Povetkin. He didn't run from Povetkin. He did not run from Povetkin. He was gonna make the fight happen. They booked the fight. He was gonna fight him in Russia. Povetkin popped 34 PEDs, and the fight got canceled. The fight got canceled basically. But he did not run from Povetkin. If he would have vacated his belt and chose not to fight Povetkin, and then Povetkin would have fought for Deontay Wilder's WBC belt against somebody else, then yeah, you could say that he dodged Povetkin, but that wasn't the case. He was going to fight him, but it was Povetkin's fault. And I know there's conspiracy theories behind that. Well, that was a lie. At the end of the day, he popped dirty from PD, so you can't. I've never blamed Deontay Wilder for the Povetkin fight. I would have only blamed him if he would have literally ducked him. If he would have said, "No, I'm gonna vacate the belt," but he didn't do it. He signed the fight. He was going to fight him in not the UK, in Russia. He was gonna go to Russia. He was gonna make, I believe, $5 million over there or something. But who is that to blame? Wilder or Povetkin? Povetkin. Whyte is going to explode on Wilder's body. I don't think a Dilllian Whyte is going to be as aggressive like that against Wilder. I think you're going to see a cautious Whyte because Deontay Wilder is a puncher, and Dilllian Whyte's going to respect him. When Daniel Dubois fought Nathan Gorman was not a puncher. He's a guy who was going the distance in many of his fights. He was a bona fide not a puncher, and Daniel Dubois showed him no respect. I said in one of my live streams, I said, or I think it was in a video, I said somewhere that because Nathan Gorman is not a puncher, Daniel Dubois is gonna walk forward against him and show him no respect because he knows he has nothing to worry about. And if you look at that fight, that's exactly what Daniel Dubois was doing. He was marching forward because he knew it was not risky for him to do that. But when it comes to Wilder's a big puncher, so whoever fights him, they're going to be worried. Even if they attempt to go forward, they're gonna have a high guard up. So I don't think you're gonna see Whyte just march forward and walk him down. He isn't coming in over 250 fight for the Wilder fight. You have to wait and see. You don't know. Maybe he does. Maybe he comes in out of shape. How do you know exactly? Troy Graham. Maybe he does. Wilder has been dropped by 2 unknown opponents. Does that make a difference? It doesn't make a difference. This is the heavyweight division. People get dropped all the time. Tyson Fury, early on in his career, got dropped by 2 unknown opponents too. He still went on to beat Vladimir Klitschko. He still went on to give Vladimir Klitschko a boxing lesson. Vladimir Klitschko got dropped by Ross. I always forget his last name. Ross, whatever. Low-level heavyweight. Still went on to be a dominant, long-reigning champion. So just because fighters get dropped, at least in the heavyweight division, just because dudes get dropped in the heavyweight division, does that mean they can't beat big punchers or whatever? I mean, look at Andre Ward. Andre Ward got dropped early on in his career. I already forgot the guy who dropped him, but I think it was like in his 12th pro fight. He got dropped badly and he was hurt. He held on. He still went on to win the Super 6 tournament. He still went on to win the Super 6 tournament. He still went on to be known as one of the pound-for-pound fighters in the world when he was active. You know, so I never really pay attention to that much, really, to be honest with you. I mean, look at Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua is chinny himself. All right, in my opinion. He still went on to do what he went on to do. Vladimir Klitschko was always known as being a chinny dude, so I don't really look at that like that. I just think styles make fights. Let's see what Allen versus Martin. What? What are you talking about? Wilder would be dropped more than once in his career if he had stepped up. Wilder has a weak-ass chin. I think he's just not been in with a puncher who could exploit it. Tired Ortiz sent him into space. Yeah, that could be true, but Wilder's really tough. I don't think you could just knock out Wilder. Wilder, I think if he gets hurt, I think you could hurt Wilder, of course. In the heavyweight division, you could hurt him, but I don't think it's a thing where you could just hurt him and beat him like that. Unless he seriously hurt or you caught him off guard or you hit him with some crazy shot over the top of the head like Anthony Joshua got hit. But that's something that I think is underestimated by Deontay Wilder is his toughness. He's really tough. When he got hurt against Ortiz, like Ortiz gave him a pasting in the corner, but you look at Wilder, he came back and he didn't wilt. He came back with fire and he dropped Ortiz 2 more times. Honestly, if Wilder loses, it would be disappointing, but easier for Whyte to get his title shot. But there is that rematch clause. The thing is this: I think if anyone's gonna be angry at anyone for Wilder not if people are gonna be angry at Whyte not being able to get a title shot against Wilder, I think people need to take out their frustrations out on the WBC because those people over there, the presidents, whoever runs the WBC, or they are the reason that Dilllian Whyte has never actually fought Deontay Wilder. Not really Deontay Wilder. If they simply enforce Deontay Wilder to fight him and say, we'll strip you, then yeah, he would obviously be forced to fight him because unless he vacated his belt, then I'll be the first person to say, oh, he's a coward. He vacated his belt not to face Dilllian Whyte. But you really people really need to be pissed off at the WBC, in my opinion. Because you see how they forced what's his name, Dominic Brazil on Deontay Wilder. They forced him. They got to do something like that with Dilllian Whyte if you want to see that fight happen right now. I still think Joshua beats Wilder. Styles make fights. Wilder makes a lot of mistakes defensively. Joshua will catch him and drop him onto the canvas. Again, with that fight with Joshua, especially now that Joshua has lost, especially since he's been knocked out, I think Joshua is going to be a lot more cautious in his career, in my opinion. Against any big puncher he fights. I think he's going to be a lot more cautious. Like, I think you're going to see a more cautious and safety first Joshua against Andy Ruiz when they finally fight later on this year. And I think when he fights Wilder, he's going to be the same. He's going to do the same thing. He's going to be cautious. Again, when it comes to Wilder, I don't think people are just going to walk through him unless, like, they really feel that they could just knock him down. I think fighters are going to show him respect. Chisora has power, man. You haven't seen enough of him. He has power, of course. He's a heavyweight, but I have seen enough of him. I've been watching Chisora for like 8 years, since forever. I remember watching Chisora get knocked out against David Price in 2012. I've been watching this dude forever. I know all about Derek Chisora. Dill boy. He's like a guy who just never goes away, Derek Chisora. He never goes away. You get tired of watching him, but he never goes away. Chisora versus Konecki. Povetkin, a B sample came back clean, and his A sample had a minute trace amount of banned substances. It was proven he has taken the substance before it was banned. Again, how is that Wilder's fault? That's not Wilder's fault. It's not Wilder's fault. At the end of the day, he took some type of drug. I don't know. It's not Wilder's fault, and so you can't put the blame on Wilder. I'm going to put the AC on because it's hella hot over here. So if that interrupts my voice, I'm sorry. But it is so hot and I need some air. Woo, that feels way better. Sorry, I was like sweating here like a freaking pig, man. It's so hot in my room. Jesus. All right. Sorry if I'm like reading your comments slow, but I'm just trying to like read every comment. All right. Sorry if I'm like reading your comments slow. Again, I'm sorry if you hear the AC in the back, but I'm like burning here. Kevin Brown, welcome to the stream. Wilder ducking Ortiz. How is he ducking Ortiz if he fought him and he's scheduled to fight him in September? That doesn't make no sense at all, Kevin Brown. Wilder ducking Whyte. I don't know if he's ducking Whyte. Sammy Bubba says, Deontay, not this Deontay. Not that when are you going to fucking criticize this dude for once? Deontay been ducking so many guys and you fucking know that. Come on, Clean. Tell us. Think he ducked. God. Listen, I criticize Deontay Wilder so much that I just don't feel like criticizing him. You guys have seen me criticize Deontay Wilder enough. Am I supposed to criticize Deontay Wilder every single day of my goddamn life? Is that what you guys want? I'm not about that, man. I'm not trying to bash one fighter forever like that. I know I'm a hypocrite because I make a hating on Deontay Wilder radio 24/7, but hey, you know me, I'm a walking this is a walking contradiction. WBC protected Wilder. Did you see Wilder talk about fighting Ruiz next after Ortiz at at Pac Thurman. It's funny how he wants undisputed now that Ruiz has the belts. I wouldn't mind seeing that fight. I just want there to be an undisputed heavyweight champion. That's something I've always wanted, and I wanted to witness somebody have all the belts. But that's why I said it might have been a good thing that Anthony Joshua lost to Andy Ruiz, because I feel like the only way we would have ever gotten an undisputed champion at heavyweight would have been if one of these dudes lost, either Joshua or Wilder. Because this fight couldn't get made, Wilder versus Joshua. So in a way, because Joshua lost, and since he's no longer the champion, now we could maybe get a undisputed champion. But if Joshua beats Andy Ruiz Jr., we're back to square one. Derek Chisora knocked out by Price. Derek Chisora never fought Price. David Price? Did he? I'm trying to remember. Derek Chisora never fought David Price. What are you talking about, Ross B? What are you talking about, man? Again, I'm sorry if you hear the AC running in the background, but like my room feels like an oven. It's actually really hot outside. It's extremely hot outside, so I need to put this AC because I can't stand it. Melting over here, bro. Extremely hot outside, so definitely ducking Whyte. Just tell us who you think he ducked. Very simple. Oh, who do I think Deontay Wilder ducked? I think he ducked two people. Maybe I shouldn't say two. I think he ducked Anthony Joshua and Vladimir Klitschko. Those are the two people that I will sit here and say he ducked, and I've always claimed that. All right. There, are you happy that I said that? Wilder doesn't deserve all the belts. He's cherry-picked his whole career and avoided so much fighter. He was too... That's not right, Shiraz B. You shouldn't be like that. So he doesn't deserve to fight for the belts because he ducked what's his name? Anthony Joshua. You might as well say he should have never fought for the WBC belt because he ducked Vladimir Klitschko. Because before he challenged for the WBC belt, the WBC title against Bermane Stiverne, people wanted to see him fight Vladimir Klitschko. So I don't think that's right to say. I mean, at the end of the day, Deontay Wilder's a champion, and people want to see undisputed. I mean, what's his name? At one point, people were saying we want to see what's his name. Jeff Horn fight against another champion to unify. At one point, I saw people saying that, and most people thought that Jeff Horn got a gift decision against Manny Pacquiao when he won his I believe it was a WBO belt against Manny Pacquiao. You know, I don't know. Boxing's corrupted. You said that earlier. I was correcting you. You said Price knocked out Chisora in 2012. Oh, my bad. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. No, in 2012, David Haye. I saw David Haye knock out Derek Chisora live. I saw that fight live back in 2012. So I've been watching Derek Chisora for like 7 years, man. I know all about that dude's style and everything. Derek Chisora is like one guy that I really would not mind seeing him retire. I feel like he's always there. I'm sorry. I just feel like he's a dude who's just been around forever, but whatever, man. Fury beats Wilder easily. It depends. He might, but he also might get caught again. Fury has to fight the perfect fight against Wilder and make sure he doesn't get caught. Because if he gets caught, he might be in trouble again. He might not get up, and if he gets caught again, I think he was very lucky the first time when he got up. So Maybe in the rematch he's outboxing him, and then he gets caught again. This time he goes to sleep and it's over. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just because Dilllian Whyte is the mandatory for Deontay Wilder does not mean he's gonna actually face him right now, because there's still so many things that Wilder has to do. Okay, he has to first get past Luis Ortiz, which is tough. He has to first get past Tyson Fury, which is tough. And even if he gets past them, it really all depends on the WBC, what they do. Lot better conditions now. I think Wilder might catch Fury. You can't go 12 rounds with Wilder. You need to have power to earn his respect and pull him away and make him hesitate to go for it. Fury's power is laughable. You see what you just said there, though? I'll tell you this. I have not seen one opponent go against Deontay Wilder and not get hurt or not get touched by his right hand. He's been able to land his... Even the first fight against Stavern, Bermane Stavern's the only guy... Bermane and Tyson Fury, the only guy to go the distance against him, right? But even when he fought Bermane Stavern, he hurt Bermane Stavern in that fight. If you remember, he landed the right hand. Bermane Stavern stumbled backwards, so he still managed to hurt Stavern. And of course, against Fury, he dropped him twice. So that's why I always think when it comes to Wilder's one of these guys that that's why I always say he's dangerous for everyone he fights. It doesn't matter if you're a big puncher or not, because if he lands on you, you could be in trouble. Damn, son. Nice. Fury fans are so deluded. They talk him up as if he's a boxing god who can't be touched, but he's been on his ass several times. Fury was a guy that was a terrible fighter, and I wasn't impressed by his style early on in his career. I think that he kind of like somewhere between 2011 and 2012, he kind of like realized that he was 6'9". He kind of realized that he had an 85-inch reach, and he was like, you know what? Let me use that to my advantage. Because before that, he used to like try and fight dudes toe to toe. He was like in competitive. He was in competitive fights with guys who were low level guys before like 2012, 2013. Around that time is when he kind of like changed his style up. Or he like redefined his style. Who do you think won in the Wilder versus Fury fight in your own opinion? Well, you could go to my channel history and you could see my post-fight. I made a post-fight video literally 5 minutes after that fight took place. Back in I think it was December 18th, 2018 or something. I don't know. And I said Fury. Go look at my post-fight video. It's up. I didn't delete it or anything. It's still up. It's on my channel. I said Fury got robbed. I think I titled it Tyson Fury got robbed against Deontay Wilder. I forgot. That was several months ago, but I came out and said Fury won that fight because I only gave Wilder the rounds where he dropped Fury. But rewatching that fight, there was a lot of rounds where Fury and Wilder didn't do much, but I still thought Fury won. Again, that wasn't Wilder's fault, though. It was the referee's fault. The judge's fault. You got to be mad at the judges. They're the ones who made that a draw. A lot of people took their anger out on Wilder. It's his fault. It wasn't his fault. It was the judge's fault, the people who made that into a draw. It's kind of like the judges that scored. It's kind of like that one judge that gave Saul Canelo Alvarez a round against what's his name, Floyd Mayweather Jr. When Saul Canelo Alvarez, in my opinion, lost every single round against him, and you sit there and you scratch your head and think to yourself, What the fuck was this guy watching? Did he not watch Floyd with the Junior School, Saul Canelo Alvarez? How could he give this guy rounds like that? So, or it's kind of like that one judge that had Anthony Joshua up on the scorecards at the time of the stoppage against Andy Ruiz Jr. When, in my opinion, I just find it insane that you could get dropped 4 times and a judge has you up in the scorecards. Judges be corrupted, man. I'm telling you. I think people get. I think judges get paid some extra money on the side to score up round to score up fights in fighters' favors by their promoters probably. Do you think Fury can go toe to toe with guys like Joshua, Wilder, and Whyte? I think he would be tore apart. He can't take their power. He has to move and jab. I think he'll get dropped if he did that. That's why Fury doesn't do that. You never see Fury do that. You never see Fury fight in the phone booth because he understands that. First of all, he understands he doesn't have the best chin. He's been dropped several times. He was dropped by very low-level guys. It's kind of like Vladimir Klitschko. Vladimir Klitschko, you never saw Vladimir Klitschko go toe-to-toe against a dude. You never saw him. He would always lean and hug his opponent when they got in close. He never did that because Vladimir Klitschko was known to be chinny. Early on in his career, he was dropped. He was hurt. So Vladimir Klitschko never did that because he was like, why would I do that and risk myself getting knocked the fuck out? Fury's the same way. You know? Yeah, he'll probably get dropped. Thumbs up for that. Gave Wilder second and 10 rounds. I gave Wilder the rounds where he dropped Fury. The 12th round. And I already forgot the round where he dropped him the first time. I think one of Deontay Wilder's problems as a fighter is he has like this puncher's mentality where he thinks he'll be able to just land his punch, his right hand on his opponent, no matter what round it is, and then knock them out. And he has the ability to do this, but I feel like one day he might be in there with a guy who's very slick and who's able to evade Wilder's right hand for 12 rounds. And then he might lose to that dude. So that's why I feel Wilder, he should like try and like focus on other aspects of his game. You know, not just try and focus on landing his right hand. I would love to see Wilder fight on the inside. I would love to see him push his opponent back, clinch on his opponent. Like when he fought Johan Duhaupas, something like that, his name. When he fought that dude, he went on the inside against him in a few rounds, and he was showing, that he had some ability to fight on the inside, and he was kind of pushing him back and leaning. And I like that side of Wilder. I was like, oh, that's cool. I like that Wilder could do that if he has to. I like that he could be physical in there. But Wilder's kind of like a sharpshooter. He really depends on his right hand a lot. Only the first 2 knockdowns count, mate. You don't count the round in which the fight is stopped. Fury will wear you down, frustrating fighters. Fury will wear you down, frustrating fighters. Because Fury embarrasses fighters. It's kind of like Vasily Lomachenko. Vasily Lomachenko, you notice how a bunch of dudes be quitting against Vasily Lomachenko? It's because he embarrasses them, you know. They realize they can't compete against them in the ring, and they fucking quit. Wilder can't fight on the inside against Joshua. He'll need to stay on the outside. He's got long arms for a reason. Yeah, I don't think Wilder will fight on the inside against Joshua. I think Wilder would stay in the center against Joshua. And like I said, I think that's a very cautious fight. Like I don't think that fight's gonna happen personally, but if that fight ever were to happen in the future, I don't think that Deontay Wilder or Anthony Joshua would be like aggressive towards each other. I think that would be a very cagey type of cautious fight. You know, like those fight. You know, like sometimes you guys look forward to a fight, a really big fight, and you think, oh my God, it's going to be very exciting. And then the fight happens, and it ends up being like a stinker fight, and you're watching it, and you're like, man, this fight's not even entertaining. I was looking forward to watching this fight, and they're not even engaging. Like, come on, man. I think that's the type of fight that you would see if you saw Wilder versus Joshua. A lot of people, like a lot of Joshua fans, feel like, oh, Joshua's just gonna go in there and go for broke against Wilder and knock him out. And a lot of people feel like Wilder's just gonna go in there and destroy Joshua. But I think both of them will be like cautious against each other. I think it'll be one of those fights that you're watching and you're just like, come on, can somebody do something already? Can somebody be aggressive? Why are these guys being too cautious? And that happens a lot of times when you respect your opponent's punching power. And like I always say in the heavyweight division, if you don't have punching power, you don't get respect. You need that. You need punching power. Just ask Nathan Gorman. Daniel Dubois showed absolutely no respect to Nathan Gorman. No respect to him. He just walked him down. He didn't show him no respect at all. I fucking said this on the video saying, bro, because, no, I said it during the live stream. I was live streaming. That's true. I totally forgot. I was live streaming Nathan Gorman versus Daniel Dubois, and somebody was in my chat. I think it was Boxing. Yes, it was Boxing Finesse. Boxing Finesse, I think he said Nathan Gorman is way more talented than Daniel Dubois. He's way more talented. He has the boxing skills. I think he said that. And I told him on my live stream, I said, I understand that Nathan Gorman is a better boxer. He might have better boxing IQ than, Daniel Dubois, but he has no punching power. This guy goes the distance against guys that other heavyweights knock out. This guy goes the distance against guys who have been knocked out several times. So that tells me he's not a puncher. So I told Boxing Finesse, I said, Daniel Dubois is not going to have any respect to him. Watch him. And look at that fight. He didn't have no respect. He didn't show no intimidation. And that's why I always favor, if you ever see a boxer who's not a big puncher versus a guy who's a big puncher and aggressive, they tend to not show respect to the boxer. And it's very dangerous in the heavyweight division because these are big dudes. They can knock you out in a second. But if you're a big puncher, that's different. If you're fighting an opponent who's a big puncher, you're going to approach it differently. You're going to be more cautious. That's why I feel Joshua and Wilder are both big punchers. Wilder's a bigger puncher in my opinion. But they're still both big punchers, so they're both going to respect each other, man. Especially now that Joshua got hurt. Maybe Joshua would have been a little bit more risky. He would have been taking a little bit more risk against Wilder the first fight. Maybe he would have gone in there, have a little bit more confidence in himself, and just walking down Wilder. But I do think that now, since he's lost and stuff like this, and now since he knows he could get hurt and dropped, I think, like I said, I have a big feeling. That's why I want to see. I want to see him back in the ring already, because I have a big feeling you're going to see a more cautious Joshua now. Because first of all, he's a cash cow, and he needs to keep winning in order to keep being a cash cow, right? In order to keep being a cash cow, he needs to keep winning. So he can't be risking losing. So because of that, I think they're going to try and, at least his trainer is going to try and show him to be more cautious and be more safety first. I think we might see that when it comes to Joshua. He might become more of a safety first type of fighter. I'm anticipating him to be more safety first against Ruiz. He's going to go on the back foot, man. I think Wilder catches AJ with a big right. I think so, too. Does AJ get up? I don't think so. I think he stays down. I just remembered that Allen was going to call out Povetkian, and he had somehow chinned Price. That would have been a one-sided beatdown. I think Dave Allen should retire, man. Dave Allen should retire. He's gonna just listen, man. Dave Allen needs to retire. I'm sorry if you're a Dave Allen fan, but apparently he got beat up. Is it true that he got beat up by David Price? I mean, I saw some of the highlights and he looked bloodied up. His face looked swollen. He looked like he got beat up. I didn't actually watch the whole fight. Again, I missed Dave Allen versus David Price fight. But I saw some of the highlights and he looked like he was busted up. He looked like he apparently he got rushed to the hospital and they waved the fight off. Damn. And no offense to David Price, but if you cannot be in a competitive fight with David Price, what is your future in the sport of boxing in the heavyweight division? What is Dave Allen going to become? He already got 5 losses. This isn't the UFC where you could have 100 losses and you could still have these big paydays. I don't know, man. And I also feel like what's his name, Eddie Hearn is like about to like pull the plug on Dave Allen. He's gonna be like, listen, I don't want to promote you no more, Dave. I don't want to promote you anymore because you keep losing. Because I remember one time he threatened Dave Allen because Dave Allen was out drinking or some shit, and he wasn't taking boxing seriously. And I think I remember Eddie Hearn came out on IFL TV. This was years ago, and he was like, listen, man, you gotta get in shape, because he was also fat too at that time. He was like, you gotta get in shape. And I'm not gonna be. You gotta take boxing serious. He was just pissed off at Dave Allen. Dave Allen should retire. Nathan Gorman was catching Dubais with that counter left hook, and Dubais was laughing it off and continued to put it on him. No respect whatsoever. Yeah, Nathan Gorman kept throwing an overhand. He kept throwing a punch over and over. I already forgot what it was, but it was a punch he kept throwing over and over again. And by the way, Nathan Gorman is going to have this problem throughout his whole career. He's going to keep losing, too. Think he's better matchup than Price was. Gorman should fight Price next. No, I don't think so. I don't want to see Nathan Gorman versus David Price. I want to see, you know what I want to see? I want to see David Price versus Derek Chisora. The battle of the two guys who need to retire soon. Both of these dudes are basically from the same generation. They've been fighting for several years. Wilder couldn't take fatigue. Ortiz punch, so imagine Joshua catching flush on the jaw as well. Joshua's jab would do some well damage. At the end of the day, we could sit here all day and discuss how Joshua would do this against Wilder. Wilder would do this against Joshua. But is the fight ever going to even happen? Is it ever going to? That's why I don't even make Wilder videos no more. That's why I make my Deontay Wilder hating on Deontay Wilder 24/7, because I don't even want to bother making Wilder videos or Anthony Joshua videos about these two fighting anymore. I don't really make videos about these two fighting anymore because it doesn't look too good. I don't know. Will these two ever even fight? It might be a thing where they never fight. So what's the point in all this debating who's going to knock who out? Ruiz was not hurt when AJ tried to go for a finish. Don't think AJ would get up either if big right. Ruiz was definitely not hurt. Because if you're hurt, when you get dropped, you immediately hold on. You always see fighters immediately hold on to their opponents if they're hurt. Andy Ruiz got dropped, he got up, and he immediately went after Joshua, so he wasn't hurt at all. It was kind of a flash knockdown. He had like a surprised look on his face, so I think it just caught him by surprise. It was like, wow. He even said afterwards, it was like, I wasn't expecting that. But yeah, he wasn't hurt. He definitely wasn't hurt. Chisora would kill Price. He might, but I want to see them fight because they never fought, right? They never fought. They're from the same generation, but they never fought. It's like David Hay and David Price. They're both from the same gen. They never fought. Why don't we see that? I want to see that too. David Hay versus David Price. Would you pick? Let's say David Hay came out of retirement and he fought, I don't know, Derek Chisora for a rematch. After 7 years. Do you think David Hay would still be able to beat Derek Chisora? I would be picking Chisora. David Hay shot to bits. They're good mates as well. Fight won't happen. What? Psst, BS. If they're mates, that means who cares? They're not brothers. They're not family. Oh, by the way, forgot to ask, any progress on The Witcher 3? I haven't played it. I haven't played Ross B, The Witcher 3, since Friday. I have not played it since Friday. Because I haven't even been home. Like, I wasn't home last night. And yeah, I have not been paying attention to playing video games as this weekend has been. I'll probably play some other time, maybe tomorrow. Think Waters would win. Yeah, he's running for the hills. I think Wilder could win against any heavyweight at the moment. But they have to fight each other to. We never know. No one knew Andy Ruiz would beat Anthony Joshua. They fought. I mean, that's just heavyweight boxing. Did you guys see Manny Pacquiao versus Keith Thurman last night? Very impressed by Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao dominated Keith Thurman. Dominating Keith Thurman. The only excuses I would give for Keith Thurman, if I was a big Keith Thurman fan, and I wanted to come out here and make excuses, because you know how every time a fighter loses for the first time, there's always excuses. I'm not a big Keith Thurman. I'm not even a fan like that of Keith Thurman, but if I was like a big Keith Thurman fan, I would be saying stuff like, well, Keith Thurman might have been rusty. Keith Thurman might have been rusty because he was very inactive. But at the same token, Manny Pacquiao is like 40 years old, so you can't really use that excuse, Yeah, he might have been inactive for a few years, but Manny Pacquiao is still an old man compared to Keith Thurman. He's like 11 years older than this guy, so it goes both ways. Pacquiao was, Keith Thurman was inactive, but Pacquiao was up there. He was old, This wasn't prime Pacquiao. I thought he dominated Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman did not impress me in this fight at all. I mean, he showed some ambition later on in the fight, but I was not impressed by Keith Thurman, like at all. I was not impressed by that dude. What I learned in that fight was, even at 40, Manny Pacquiao still has quicker legs than some of these welterweights. Like that was the problem Keith Thurman had, was he couldn't deal with Manny Pacquiao's legs. He couldn't deal with the in and out movement. That was the problem. And funny enough, the one time I saw him have success, what's his name, Keith Thurman, was when he actually was using his own footwork, when he was actually moving around himself. But for some reason, he chose to try and basically stay in the center against Manny Pacquiao and fight him. He tried to stay in the center against him for some strange reason. I thought Keith Thurman was going to use his legs in this fight. I thought he was going to be on the back foot. So it kind of surprised me when I saw him elect to stay in front of Pacquiao like that. And I think he did a disservice to himself when he did that, because Pacquiao was just moving. Pacquiao's footwork was too much for Keith Thurman. I saw your post earlier. You're going to try and lose some weight? Yeah. Because I'm getting way too fat, bro. Trying to get down to one. If I can't make it to 170, probably 185 or something. No drug testing. Don't think it was a dominant. Oh, I read that already. Pacquiao, the Pacquiao that fought Oscar De La Hoya would beat Spence up. Would beat up Spence. But think the weight difference and Spence youth would be too much for him. I think Manny Pacquiao would have spots where he's able to land on Spence. But you know what I think Spence is going to do against Pacquiao? I think Spence is going to Spence is going to fight the way he fought Mikey Garcia. He's going to outbox him. He's going to try and outbox Manny Pacquiao. You're not going to see if they do fight now. I don't know if they're going to fight. But if they do fight, you're not going to see the arrow Spence they fought Kell Brook. I think he would try and most likely outbox him. How tall are you? I'm like nearly 6 feet. I'm like 5'11" and a half. But with like shoes, I'm 6 feet tall, bro. with shoes with good soles. Sometimes I wear shoes like boots to make me even taller. Cause I like being like taller. I wish I was like 6'6". But no. I didn't turn out 6'6". About 6 feet around there. I don't know. It's been a while since I measured myself or my height. I'm like 5'11" and a half. I think I read. Wait, yeah, you said you weighed 154, so you're like a skinny dude compared to me. What you call it? The undercard though of Manny Pacquiao versus the one fight I didn't like in Manny Pacquiao. Yeah, you say you 154. You're skinny, man. If you 154, that means you're a skinny dude. Because if I weighed 154, I would look anorexic. Because a long time ago, probably when I was like 15 or something or 16, I was like I was very active, and I went all the way down to like 165, and people were like, "Bro, you look anorexic." So if I look anorexic at 165, I would. If I was 154, I'd probably look like freaking bones. People were telling me I need to eat. So yeah, I'm just trying to get back to normal weight. I don't like walking around at 200 pounds. I'm trying to get back to like 180. I don't necessarily need to get to 170, but at least the 180s. Not that far off. Maybe 15 pounds I need to drop. But, oh yeah, the one fight I didn't like in the Manny Pacquiao Keith Thurman undercard was Sergey Lipinets, whatever. He fought some guy I never heard of. Sergey Lipinets. I'm like, well, why is he fighting this bum? I did like I can't pronounce that guy's name. Ugas fought, what's his name? Omar Figueroa. Omar Figueroa turned pro at 135 pounds. I don't know why he's fighting at 147. I just think he's undisciplined. And that's why he's fighting in that weight division. But he got bullied against that dude, that Cuban fighter. I always forget his name. All I know is his name is Ugas, something like that. The dude who fought Sean Porter. And it was clear to me that not only was he more talented, but he was just so much stronger than him because he's naturally bigger than him. You probably looked anorexic because you had a really thin face at that weight. Yeah, well, I didn't look good. I looked too skinny, in my opinion. Ugas. By the way, I accidentally ended the stream on my Deontay Wilder, hating on Deontay Wilder 24/7 fucking radio thing. It was an accident. I wasn't actually planning on doing that. I was gonna like let it go for as long as I could, and I accidentally fucking pressed the end stream, and I'm like, ah, fuck. It went for 33 hours though. Pacquiao's not gonna fight until next year. In the post fight, they asked him, "Are you looking forward to fighting the winner of Sean Porter versus Errol Spence Jr.?" He said he's not looking forward to fighting this year and next year. So, I believe Manny Pacquiao fights on PBC. Hopefully, we see him fight the winner of Sean Porter versus Errol Spence. I'm picking Errol Spence to beat Sean Porter. Hopefully, that fight happens next year. And by the way, I think people should give respect to Manny the Pac-Man Pacquiao, all right? Because Manny Pacquiao has always had a lot of critics. He had critics when he was in his prime. He has critics right now when he's past his prime. He's always had critics, right? People always claim that Manny Pacquiao ducked this guy, he ducked this guy, he ducked this guy. But I think Manny Pacquiao deserves some credit because do you guys think that Errol Spence Jr. would be beating up fighters in their primes at 40 years old in his weight division? Do you think Keith Thurman would be dominating dudes at 40 years old? I think Keith Thurman would be long retired by 40. I think Errol Spence Jr. would be long retired by 40. So it's impressive to me that he's still able to compete with these dudes at his age. Because most dudes by that age, if they're not retired, they're clearly way over the hill. Pacquiao is not as fast or as vicious or as explosive. He doesn't have this hand speed that he had in his prime. He's not as relentless. He's not as energetic as he was in his prime anymore. But he still has speed, and he still has this. This ability to outwork his opponents, even at this age. And I think people should give Manny Pacquiao credit for being able to still compete in the highest level of boxing at 40 years old. Because it's not an easy thing to do. I mean, Bernard Hopkins is one of the only other people I could think of that was in his 40s and he could still dominate dudes. And especially like the people in the LDBC, for years they said that Manny Pacquiao was ducking Keith Thurman. Keith one-time Thurman, they were saying he was ducking him. So I haven't actually seen, I never really see boxing other people's boxing videos anymore. I don't really watch other boxing videos. I used to always watch other boxing videos from other uploaders, but I don't really see other boxing videos like that. So I haven't seen none of the post fights for the Manny Pacquiao versus Keith Thurman fight, but I would imagine that there's probably a few people not giving Manny Pacquiao credit for beating Keith Thurman. And I'm pretty sure that there's a few people that were saying Pacquiao was ducking Keith Thurman that are not giving him credit for beating Keith Thurman. So I think that's kind of wrong. It's not right to not give a past his Pacquiao not credit for beating a prime fighter in Keith Thurman. Do I think he beats what's his name, Terrence Crawford, or who else? Terrence Crawford or Errol Spence Jr. These are like the other two best guys. Well, the other two champions in the division. I don't know. Maybe he might. I'm pretty sure that they'll have a tough fight with him. We have to wait and see if they fight. That's really it. But even if he doesn't beat them, even if he fights Terrence Crawford, and if he loses against them or he loses against Errol Spence Jr., I think he deserves credit for at least challenging them. Attempting it, so that's something I admire about Manny Pacquiao is he still wants to be great, even at his age. He's made a whole bunch of money, millions, I believe, multiple millions. He came from fucking poverty. I saw the whole life story of Manny Pacquiao. He came from poverty. He used to sell cigarettes on the streets of the Philippines to support himself, to support his mother. He went into boxing at age. He started boxing because he was poor. Like, that's the thing. Manny Pacquiao started boxing because he was poor. Now he's a senator for the Philippines. He's an icon, so you have to. And he's made millions, and he's still ambition. He still has this ambition to win fights. So I think that's impressive. You know, just saying, bro. Why does this say? I don't understand what that says. I don't know what language that is. Currently playing Tomb Raider. Lawcraft has a nice ass Tomb Raider. Oh my god. Tomb Raider. Man. When I hear Tomb Raider, God. I remember being a kid playing Tomb Raider. The graphics have changed so much. Like, if you see the graphics from the original Tomb Raider to the graphics these days, they're so much better, man. They're so much better. Anyway, guys, that's all I have to say. Everybody left. It seems that the majority of the people left my stream now. They're tired of listening to me speak, so I'm just going to leave it on the Deontay Wilder verse. You know, the Deontay Wilder hating on Deontay Wilder video, and I appreciate anyone who stopped by. And I'll see you guys later on. Goodbye. Peace. Bye-bye, man. I apologize. I apologize for any of you boxing voice fans, because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of boxing voice fans. I apologize for any of you boxing voice. I can't stand Ness from the boxing voice, or the boxing voice. I can't stand that guy. I just can't stand that guy. Every time I watch one of their live streams, like the dude or the boxing voice, I can't stand that guy. I just can't stand that guy. Every time I watch one of their live streams, like the dude or the boxing voice, I can't stand that guy. I just can't stand live streams, like boxing. Such a big Deontay Wilder fanboy. He's always defending Deontay Wilder. Occasionally he'll defend, Eddie Hearn, but he's mostly a Deontay Wilder defender. And I'm watching his live stream, and the guy's talking about that, it's in a Deontay Wilder defender. He wouldn't mind. You know what, man? You know what I decided? I decided I'm done watching these Deontay Wilder pro channels. I'm done. Because I've always given them the benefit of the doubt. I decided I'm done watching these Deontay Wilder pro channels. I'm done. And watch, because I've other channels to see if maybe some of them have a point. Okay, but it's just the more and more I watch these dudes' channel is like they're all full of shit. All these fucking Deontay Wilder pro channels are full of shit. They're fucking cancer. And I actually suggest anyone who watches those channels to just stop watching them. Unsubscribe. They're full of shit. All these Deontay Wilder pro channels are all the fucking same. They all have the same logic. They all treat the people who view their channels, the people who leave comments, the same. If you notice, every time somebody leaves a comment, or if they're doing, because one thing I noticed with all these Deontay Wilder pro channels is they all love to live stream. You notice that? They all love to do live streams, right? They all love to do that. And then when somebody comes in, somebody with, a boxing fan with logic comes in and leaves, a comment that, is they're talking about the fact that maybe Deontay Wilder is ducking or, prolonging this fight with Joshua. Then they love to respond in a very, aggressive way. What you talking about? Fuck you. Show me your proof, right? First of all, you got guys like Blue Blood Boxing. This guy's a fucking demented. Like, this guy is a demented Deontay Wilder fan. This guy every time I watch his stream, continues to say, show me your proof. How do you know that Deontay Wilder's name was in the fucking contract? Like, what a fucking idiot. Fucking Shelly Finkel, the manager of Deontay Wilder, said that if Shelly Finkel came out and he said, Anthony Joshua wasn't name wasn't in the contract, the DAZN contract, then I would have some suspicion. But he didn't say that. He said, yeah, you know what, his name was there. They were offering us the fight. But the thing is, the reason we didn't take this fight was because we had no idea how much Anthony Joshua was receiving. That's what they said. At no point did Shelly Finkel, the guy who fucking manages Deontay Wilder, the guy who was in the negotiation rooms with his own, at no fucking point did he said that this was a fake contract because Anthony Joshua's name wasn't there. This guy's demented. He's literally feeding his fucking sheep. I feel so bad for his subscribers. Like, if you look at all the people that he has modded, they're all fucking sheep. Everybody that he's modded, they're all sheep. No wonder he mods them, because all they do is agree with him. Oh yeah, blue blood. Yeah, there was no guaranteed blue blood. All they do is respond with a sheep mentality type of response. Yeah, you're right, blue blood. The same thing with BFB boxing. Best fight the best. Shouting at their viewers, Nez, another Deontay Wilder cocksucker, 78 Sports TV, the biggest Deontay Wilder cocksucker. All these Deontay Wilder cocksuckers, Enigma, another guy who fucking, screams at his fucking viewers. All these guys act the same. They yell at their fucking viewers if they even suggest that Deontay Wilder's the one prolonging this fight. I just can't stand these guys. I can't stand it. I think they're a cancer to the YouTube boxing community. I honestly believe that Deontay Wilder fanboys are a fucking cancer to the YouTube the Deontay Wilder channels. They're a fucking cancer to the YouTube boxing community. They are a fucking cancer, and what they do is they brainwash their sheep of subscribers. They brainwash them, and then their sheep of subscribers go to other channels like my own channel or some other channels who have logic, and they leave their shitty comments saying, what the fuck are you talking about? You don't know shit about boxing, because they saw a Blue Bloods boxing video or a 78 Sports boxing video or somebody else or another one of these diluted Deontay Wilder boxing videos, and they believe them, right? They believe all the fucking lies. All these dudes do is they live off Anthony Joshua, just like Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder lives off talking about Anthony Joshua. The only reason people are talking about Deontay Wilder is because all he does is talk about how he wants to fight Anthony Joshua, and Anthony Joshua is the one ducking, and that's all he does. He goes around talking about Anthony Joshua. The same thing with these Deontay Wilder fanboy channels. All they do is make videos telling you how Anthony Joshua is afraid, how Deontay Wilder is the one who really wants this fight. How the fuck is Deontay Wilder ducking Anthony Joshua? They're fucking cancer, man. They don't talk facts. They don't show you the facts. They don't show you the facts. All they do is they have this agenda. All they do is they have this agenda where all they do is defend Deontay Wilder, and they only say negative shit about Anthony Joshua. All right? And then if you go to their channels and if you try and debate them, they'll fucking block you. You can't go to their channels and debate them. They'll fucking block you. Honestly, I'm not watching these channels anymore. I'm sick and tired of these channels. They're fucking cancer. Deontay Wilder fanboy channels are cancer. I'm out. Hey, fellas. So, Deontay Wilder, the Bronze Bomber himself, has recently come out on an interview he had. It was conducted by BoxingScene.com. And on the interview, he basically says that Joseph Parker is, as you can see, he says Parker is the scariest of them all. He don't want it. My thing is, if you come in this thing talking about how you want to fight the best, then please do fight the best. Y'all came to my city, talked to me for several days, talked to my people for several days, not only in person but on the phone, for nothing. When y'all know you didn't want me. You thought you did, but you came to the fight and you saw me knock this guy out like I did, and you don't want it no more. And then he says that he actually thinks that Joshua would be more willing to face him than Joseph Parker. Now, I kind of agree with this and I don't agree with this. When it comes to Joseph Parker, I remember seeing one of, I believe, Mr. Boxing Today's video. Shout out to Mr. Boxing Today's videos. And he was talking about how, like, he made a video talking about this, talking about an article that he had read where they were like, his team was saying that they don't feel that Joseph Parker is ready
for someone like an Anthony Joshua. So they're gonna wait, like, I think it was Anthony Joshua or it was Deontay Wilder. It was either one of those champions, and like they're going to like wait a year and have him have a few title defenses until he completely develops as a fighter. When I saw that article, when I saw that from Mr. Boxing Today, I didn't like that, because it's like, what do you mean you need a year? You're a champion. What do you mean you need a year just to fight someone like Joshua? So you could kind of say that's ducking. But obviously you could also say the exact same thing about Wilder. You could be like, well, Deontay Wilder has been a champion for 2 years. And who has he fought? And to be fair, that is true. I mean, look at, if you compare Joseph Parker's resume to Deontay Wilder, I think Joseph Parker has fought the better guys. I mean, he's fought Carlos Takam, Andy Ruiz, Hughie Fury. Takam, I mean, who's better, Takam or Bermane Stiverne? I think skill for skill, Takam is better. Who's better, Johan Dugupas or Hughie Fury? I think Hughie Fury is a better boxer. I don't think he's not as good as a pressure fighter, but I think he's a better boxer. But their resumes are about even. I will say maybe Joseph Parker has a little bit better of a resume, just because I think these guys, when it comes to skill, I think they're a little bit better than some of the guys Wilder fought. I made a video before saying that I think Joseph Parker can actually beat Deontay Wilder, and I stick to that. I still think he could beat him, because Deontay Wilder can be outboxed. He can be outboxed. The thing is, you always have to be careful, because he has that power, and if he lands, all it takes is one shot. I've always said that I believe he will lose to someone like Joseph Parker, will lose to Anthony Joshua. I just think style-wise, that's a terrible matchup for Joshua, because Joshua actually applies pressure, as opposed to someone like Wilder, who he doesn't apply pressure, and that's why you can outbox him, because he doesn't know how to cut the ring off properly. Do I think Joseph Parker's afraid of Deontay Wilder? No, not really. I don't think that anyone is afraid of Deontay Wilder's skill set. I think if they are going to be afraid of something, I think they're going to be afraid of either A, being caught with steroids, not accusing none of these guys of being on steroids, not accusing none of these guys, but I'm just saying, I think A, being caught with steroids, and B, getting hit with that right hand, because he does have that power. He is, the threat that he has is that power. If you took away that punching power, he wouldn't be a threat skill for skill. But do I think he's afraid of him, like, when it comes to like skill for skill? No. Boxers shouldn't be afraid of people. You know, people always say this guy's afraid of this guy's afraid. But if you're a boxer, you shouldn't be afraid of people, because this is what you signed up for. You signed up to fight everybody. You know? So, period. You shouldn't be afraid of anyone if you're a boxer, a pro boxer. But yeah, guys, I don't really know if I agree with Wilder. I don't. Because it's like, Joseph Parker has went to other people's backyards, so, well, Wilder has, to be fair, too. But I felt like Joseph Parker stepped up earlier in his career than someone like Wilder. So when it comes to challenging himself, I think Joseph Parker definitely has more courage than someone like Wilder. But, this is Wilder. That's what he's going to do. He's going to say that this guy's afraid of him, or this guy. Wilder thinks everybody's afraid of him. But yeah, I don't necessarily think he's afraid of him, unless like he's on steroids or that right hand. But I don't.
I apologize. I apologize for any of you the boxing voice fans, because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of boxing voice fans out there. I mean, the guy has 100,000 subscribers, but I can't stand Ness from the boxing voice, or the boxing voice. I can't stand that guy. I just can't stand that guy. Every time I watch one of their live streams, like, the dude just comes across as such a big Deontay Wilder fanboy. He's always defending Deontay Wilder. Occasionally he'll defend, Eddie Hearn, but he's mostly a Deontay Wilder defender. And I'm watching his live stream, and the guy's talking about that, it's. He wouldn't mind this fight marinating into the year 2021, and it's like he says he wouldn't mind it, and then one of the other guys is like, dude, so you wouldn't mind having Deontay Wilder be like 37, 38 years old by the time he fights Anthony Joshua, and he tries to make these excuses, these comparisons to other fighters, like, oh, how old was Floyd Mayweather Jr. when he fought Manny Pacquiao? How old was Bernard Hopkins? The thing is, bro, Manny Pacquiao versus Floyd Mayweather Jr. was one of the most boring fights I've ever seen in my life. You want to know why? Because they were both over the hill. They were both nearly 40 years old, so they fought a patient fight. Bernard Hopkins was known as one of the most boring fighters, especially when he was in his late 30s and 40s. I used to watch Bernard Hopkins fights, and I used to be put to sleep. You want to know why he was so boring? Because he was an old fighter. And the thing about these older fighters is they're more patient. They're more safety first type of fighters because they're veterans. They're not like these young fighters who go out there and try and knock people out in the first round because they're experienced. That's why when it comes to these old veterans fighting, the fight ends up being boring and lame because they're veterans. So that's why people don't want to see Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder in fucking 5 years, because by then it's going to be a boring fight. It will be a fight between two veterans. You get what I'm saying? Another thing. This guy was talking about the fact that, because, he was talking about the fact that Eddie Hearn said this fight might not happen with Wilder and Joshua into the year 2021 because Wilder has in store facing like 4 opponents, a fight with Adam Konecki, a rematch with Luis Ortiz, and 2 back-to-back fights with Tyson Fury, a trilogy, right? And then he was saying, how could Anthony Joshua, if this is true, and then he'll fight the Anthony Joshua, right? Deontay Wilder. But Nez was saying, how could Anthony Joshua compete with this? How could he compete with this? How could Anthony Joshua compete with Deontay Wilder fighting Adam Konecki, Luis Ortiz, and 2 back-to-back fights with, Tyson Fury? First of all, it's rumored that when Deontay Wilder ducks Anthony Joshua after Anthony Joshua gets past Luis Ortiz, Andy Ruiz, it's rumored that he's gonna fight Alexander Usyk. I'll tell you this right now: Alexander Usyk is better than both Adam Konecki and Luis Ortiz. Facts. This is a champion, a former undisputed champion at cruiserweight. What has Luis Ortiz done? Nothing. He's a contender. He's never beaten a top 10 heavyweight. So don't come at me and try to say that Luis Ortiz is this dangerous pound for pound heavyweight when he hasn't beaten a top 10 heavyweight. I'm sick of people calling this guy an elite top 10 heavyweight. You haven't beaten an elite heavyweight. Alexander Usyk has wiped out his division. He's actually in a better position than Luis Ortiz because he's actually was a champion. He was an undisputed champion, right? So right there, let's take away. If Anthony Joshua were to fight Alexander Usyk next, that would be better than Deontay Wilder fighting both. Adam Konecki and Luis Ortiz, because both of these guys are just contenders. Now, when it comes to Tyson Fury, this guy was a former unified champion. So, although recently he's been very inactive and he's fighting a bum in Tom Schwartz next, but he was a former undisputed champion. So there. All right. So again, I just don't like this guy's attitude, the way he seems to be like, oh, who cares? Who cares if this fight takes place in the year 2022? Like, what the fuck? You shouldn't want this fight to happen right now. You get what I'm saying? Like, listen, the bottom line is this. Anthony Joshua wants this fight with Deontay Wilder, okay? He wants this fight. He wanted this year. This was the year where he really wanted this fight. That's why he let Eddie Hearn in his own offer Deontay Wilder this fight. He also wanted to fight Luis Ortiz, by the way, the guy that you claim is the second or the third best heavyweight in the world, which is an absolute lie. He wanted to fight him, but, they both... You wouldn't know what the Ortiz situation, and Wilder rejected that fight, right? So, this fight, we're going to have to wait. And you know what? Like I said, I was one of the first people on this whole YouTube platform that went around saying, I literally made a video in 2018 when nobody was saying this. Everybody back then was saying, oh no, Wilder's going to fight Anthony Joshua in the year 2018 or 100% the year 2019. Now everybody's talking about the year 2020, 2021. But like I said, I was one of the first, and I showed you proof in my other video. I was one of the first people who ever came out here and was like, yo, these guys are not going to fight anytime soon. So, again, I just wish these guys weren't biased like this boxing voice, and they just said it how it truly is. The reason this fight's being prolonged is clearly because of Wilder and his fucking team ducking this fight, avoiding this fight, and not try to come up with these excuses. Oh, you know what? It's actually not really a bad thing if Wilder and Joshua don't fight to then, because these are good opponents and stuff like that. It's fucking ridiculous, man. The boxing voice and Ness, especially that Ness guy, he's freaking a Wilder nut hugger. Facts. That's all to say, guys. I'm out. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for the latest in boxing, man.
You know what I just realized? Deontay Wilder became a millionaire basically fighting bums. Like, this guy basically became a millionaire fighting bums. This guy drives a $500,000 Lamborghini. He lives in a mansion in Alabama. He's making all these millions, and he never fucking challenged himself. And he's at the end of his fucking career. That's fucked up. He's basically a con artist. Deontay Wilder is basically a con artist. They built him up fighting nothing but bums. They got him in there against the weakest and the most overrated champion of all time, Bermane Stiverne. He won the belt. They put him back into fighting nothing but bums. And now he's a fucking millionaire. And now they're waiting to fucking have him face Anthony Joshua, just so when he gets brutally KO'd by Anthony Joshua, hey, at least he made his like $15 million purse from that fight. What a fucking con artist. This guy spent his whole career fighting bums, and he's a millionaire. It's crazy, and it's really sad, because there's real fighters out there that put in the work and actually challenge themselves, and they don't make a fraction of the money that Wilder makes. Wilder makes like $1 million a purse. That's a lot of money for a fighter, because a lot of these fighters, they put in the work. They get paid like 50 grand, 100 grand, and these guys are putting on the work. I mean, look at Andre Ward. Andre Ward is the guy that put in the work, and it took Andre Ward like 13 years before he made that big purse, like $5 million before he fought Sergey Kovalev. But he was fighting guys like Arthur Abraham in his prime, Carl Froch in his prime, Mikhail Kessler in his prime. He was fighting top guys. Chad Dawson in his prime. But he wasn't making that type of money. He wasn't a millionaire. He was making like 500 grand. So Wilder's a fucking con artist. Became a fucking multi-millionaire fighting nothing but bums. It just goes to show you, in this world, you could just con your way to millionaire status. You could con your way to millionaire status. And Wilder really conned his way to millionaire status. He became a multi-millionaire. Well, not a multi-millionaire, but when he fights Anthony Joshua, he's going to become a multi-millionaire, because he's going to get like $20 million for that fight. He became a multi-millionaire fighting nothing but bums. Fucking con artist. So Deontay Wilder has let America, Team USA, the United States, home of the brave, he let us down again. I remember 5 years ago, when I first saw Deontay Wilder, a lot of people had a lot of high hopes for him. They were saying stuff like, he's going to be the next great American heavyweight. And they were saying this because of his knockout percentages. I think at the time he had maybe 25, 26 knockouts, and of course he knocked everybody out. But of course he had that resume back then. That hasn't really improved since then. But a lot of people back then were saying this, and a lot of people kept giving excuses like, he needs to, he's working on his craft. Like, I remember in 2013, like, he was fighting guys like Nikolai Furfa, Sergey Lihovlich, Ali Harrison, and a lot of people were saying, well, and I remember a lot of people back then wanted him to fight Vladimir Klitschko, but the excuse was, well, he's learning his craft. Even some people on TV who are boxing analysts were saying stuff like this. I remember this. I told my story of Deontay Wilder. I had a lot of high hopes for him. But when he defended his belt against Eric Molina, that's when I kind of like stopped taking Deontay Wilder. Like, I stopped basically defending him. I've told this story before. I used to be a big Wilder. I guess I used to have high hopes for Wilder. I really wasn't a big fan of him. I was a fan, but maybe I had some of that patriotic, I I was patriotic. I had that patriotic fan in me, so I wanted him to be successful. Well, Wilder, you know, he's really letting us down as American boxing fans, man. He really is. Especially if you consider like the history of American heavyweights. You know, America has produced some of the greatest heavyweights. You know, a lot of people talk about guys like, you know, Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson. But if you look at the history of America, America has produced several heavyweights. You know, Jack Johnson back in 1908. My God, Jack Dempsey. Joe Louis reigned as heavyweight champion for 11 years. You know, Rocky Marciano, Floyd Patterson, Sonny Liston, Muhammad Ali, a.k.a. Cassius Clay, Smoking Joe Frazier, George Foreman, Larry Holmes reigned for 7 years, Mike Tyson, Riddick Bowe, Evander the Real Deal Holyfield. You know what I'm saying? America, for the longest time, American heavyweights were really the kingpins of the heavyweight divisions. Literally from like the start of like the 19th century, right? Or the 18th century. American heavyweights were the ruler of the heavyweight division. They were, I mean, obviously there were other guys from other countries who were heavyweight champions, but the dominant force in the heavyweight division for many years, you know, for like 80 years were American heavyweights, you know, throughout the 1930s, throughout the 1940s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and maybe up into the early 90s, American heavyweights were the dominant force in the heavyweight division. Then, of course, it started to change. More guys from other countries started to really take over the heavyweight division, especially like guys from, you know, across the pond. Guys like Lennox Lewis came along. Guys like, you know, the Eastern Europeans came along. It started to change. And now Americans don't really dominate the heavyweight division. But if anyone knows anything about boxing, you will know that America used to be the dominant force in the heavyweight division. You know, again, you go back 30 years ago, you know, 40 years ago, it was all Americans. So it's really embarrassing when you see someone like Deontay Wilder, because like I said, America has so much rich history. And it's embarrassing when you see Deontay Wilder. Even before this all, you know, I'm not even talking about the fact that he turned down $10 million against Anthony Joshua. I'm not even talking about the fact that he's saying, I will only fight you, Anthony Joshua, if I get a 50-50 split, and if not, I won't fight you. So he's basically pricing himself out and saying, and using that as like an excuse to not fight Anthony Joshua. I'm just saying in general, like even before that, way before Anthony Joshua got big, he should have fought someone who was respectable, right? Way before Anthony Joshua. You know, way before Anthony Joshua. You know, I don't buy this whole excuse that you have to fight you know, 150 guys just to prepare yourself and get yourself good in boxing. That's an excuse. Brian Jennings had the same exact experience that Deontay Wilder had, but he didn't fight, you know, 50 guys before he fought Vladimir Klitschko. He fought Vladimir Klitschko with like 20 fights. Why didn't Brian Jennings have that excuse? Because Brian Jennings wanted to challenge himself. Simple as that. Another guy, Gerard Washington, when he fought Deontay Wilder, you know, he didn't have, you know, 39 fights. He had 18 fights. He wanted to challenge it. Even Jarrell Big Baby Miller, another American. You know, he's already fighting guys that he's fighting guys he's supposed to be fighting. Do you see Jarrell Miller fighting guys like Marius Wack and Gerard Washington with like 59 fights? No, you see him fighting guys like Marius Wack and Gerard Washington with less than 20 fights. So he's doing what he's supposed to be doing. That's why I respect and I admire more guys like Gerard Washington. Like Jarrell Miller, Big Baby Miller, and even Brian Jennings, you know, than someone like Wilder, because they're challenging themselves much earlier in their careers. I don't get it. It's like every time Deontay Wilder is set to fight someone big, something bad happens. It's almost like someone is preventing Wilder from ever challenging himself. Whether it's him, whether it's his team. You know, when it came to Povetkin, something happened. Povetkin got caught with drugs. You know, maybe he was a drug cheat. He probably was. Didn't happen. Then this whole thing with Luis Ortiz, with the whole blood pressure, didn't happen. Then now there's Wilder pricing himself out, saying he don't want to fight Joshua unless he gets that, 50-50 split. He's pricing himself out. He knows he's not going to get the 50-50 split. So in other words, he won't fight Anthony Joshua because he's never going to get the 50-50 split. So once again, and now his fans are going to say, oh, well, it wasn't Wilder's fault. It wasn't Wilder's fault. Eddie Hearn never gave him a 50-50 split, so it wasn't Wilder's fault. You can't blame Wilder. Sorry for the dogs if you hear them in the back. They're annoying. You know how dogs are. They don't stop barking. But that's what his fans are going to say. His fans are going to use that as an excuse. Well, Deontay Wilder, it wasn't Wilder's fault. Eddie Hearn didn't want to give him the 50-50 split. That's just as bad as when Riddick Bowe threw his WBC heavyweight belt in the trash, saying, I'm not going to fight Lennox Lewis. He could be a trash can. So he vacated it and threw it in the trash. That's embarrassing. I mean, this is not as embarrassing as that, because that's embarrassing. But he might as well do that. He might as well throw his WBC belt in the trash, because he's basically saying, I'm not fighting you, dude, unless you give me that money. And the sad part is his fans are going to defend him, and they're going to say, Eddie Hearn should have given that money. It's as if Wilder's just content on fighting guys he knows he could beat. That's what it is. He knows he could beat these guys. And the crazy thing is, I really don't know I don't think he wants to duck Anthony Joshua, because of course he wants the payday. Who wouldn't want the payday? What annoys me is that he doesn't want to take the $10 million. I remember when Deontay Wilder didn't fight what's his name? Dilllian Whyte. And a lot of people were, and he turned down $4 million. And a lot of people were saying, why would he go to England, defend his belt for $4 million? Why would he go there? $4 million to defend against this guy. He needs, he's a champion. They need to pay him more. If they pay Charles Martin $5 million to fight Anthony Joshua, they should pay Deontay Wilder more than $5 million to go to England to fight Dilllian Whyte. The problem was Dilllian Whyte isn't Anthony Joshua. Well, now when it comes to Anthony Joshua, they're paying him more than they are for Charles Martin. When Charles Martin went to England to defend his belt against Anthony Joshua, they paid him what, $5 million? They're paying Deontay Wilder double, right? $10 million. So no one could say, oh, you can't use that excuse. Oh, Wilder is a bigger name than Charles Martin. He should be getting paid more. You can't use that excuse, because he is getting paid more. He's getting paid, $10 million, but he turned it down. That's what I'm saying. Wilder, I guess in a sense, he's trying to be smart. He knows if he loses to Anthony Joshua, he'll never get a bigger payday. So he's trying to, in a sense, milk it. He's trying to milk it and get as much money as he possibly can for this fight. He's trying to milk it. Okay? He's trying to milk it. And if he can't milk it, then it's too risky for him. So he won't take the fight. That's what it is. It's kind of like with Amir Khan and Kell Brook. Amir Khan is always milking. He wants to get the higher percentage. You know how Amir Khan always wants the higher. He's trying to act like I'm the star, even though he's been irrelevant for like a year and a half, for like 2 years almost. But he knows that's a risky fight. Him versus Kell Brook. He knows it's risky, So this is why he's trying to get as much money as possible, because he knows that might be his last biggest payday. I mean, let's be real. If he loses to Kell Brook, that might be Amir Khan's last biggest payday. And Amir Khan's already at the end of his career. He's already said he's going to just fight for like 2-3 more years and he retires. So that's all it is, really. I don't think Wilder's scared of Anthony Joshua, but I think he just wants to milk the belt. But in the process, he's embarrassing us as American boxing fans and all boxing fans from around the world, because he's giving other boxing fans ammunition to criticize him. To criticize him and call him a coward. You know how many comments I received in my channel saying, I told you Wilder was a coward. I told you Wilder was a coward. I told you he didn't really want to fight. I received several boxing fans telling me this on my channel. I got the comments in my I got all the comments, man. I'll show you, man. I got all these comments, and I can't blame them. I can't like say, what are you talking about? You know? I can't say you're lying. It's gonna be really sad if this fight doesn't happen next year, because it's really supposed to happen next year. Can you imagine if it doesn't happen next year? And like I said, if this fight doesn't happen, it's gonna be worse. I feel like this fight, I said this a long time ago on my original McGregor channel. I said these guys have to fight each other before they lose, because the reason why this fight's so big, and the reason why people are really, and the reason why a lot of boxing fans are interested in it around the world, is because they're both undefeated and they're both punchers. That's what's catching the imagination of boxing fans. Holy cow, both of these guys are undefeated. They're both punchers. All they gotta do is land. Someone's gonna get knocked out. And because they're undefeated, that's the big selling point. And them being undefeated is a big selling point for them. But let's say one of these guys, let's say they stall the fight because Wilder keeps saying, I'm not fighting Anthony Joshua until this. And let's say years pass. One of these guys are going to end up losing. And guess what? Boxing fans will lose interest. They're going to be like, okay, I'm not going to see this fight now. Both of these guys have lost. You know, it's not as appealing to me. You know? It's not as appealing to me. So that's what I'm saying. These guys really have to fight before that shit happens. I mean, look at Floyd Mayweather Jr. versus Manny Pacquiao. If that would have happened earlier, they probably would have made more money, because there would have been more interest. There would have been more boxing fans interested in it. But they waited so long that by the time they fought, they were both really past their prime. I mean, it still did very well. Obviously, financially, both of these guys made millions upon millions of dollars. I believe Mayweather made like 200 million. I believe Pacquiao made like 100 million. So both of these guys were, hit the jackpot that night. But still, let's say the fight would have happened 4 years earlier, like 2011, 2012. They probably would have made even more money, because at that time they were younger and they didn't have, especially Pacquiao had not lost to Marquez and stuff. So it would have been more appealing for boxing fans to want to tune in and pay pay-per-view to watch that fight. So this is the case with and Deontay Wilder's like, what, 32 years old now? And then if they wait long, and let's say Wilder gets old, and let's say he were to lose, then they'll just discredit Anthony Joshua and say, well, Wilder's old. He's 35 now, and the same thing goes for Wilder. Like, say they fight in 2-3 years, and Anthony Joshua has lost since then. They're not gonna give Wilder credit. They're gonna say, well, Anthony Joshua was damaged goods. That's why it's best for them to fight now when they're both young and undefeated, because they will get the most credit right now, whoever wins. Even, of course, there's going to be people out there saying, not giving the guys credit, because there are obviously boxing fans out there that just don't like the guy and they will never give him credit. But the real boxing fans will be like, okay, I'm going to give you credit, man, because you beat him. You beat him in his prime too, Another thing, Wilder has to realize, if Eddie Hearn is telling you that you're not worth 50% of the person, you're not, right? Let's be realistic. If you're not worth that now, what if you lose, Wilder? If you're not worth that being undefeated now, what if you lose? If you lose, you're definitely not going to be worth that. So imagine you're getting offered 10 million, but imagine in 2 years you lose like twice. Now you're not even going to be offered 10 million. Now you're going to be offered like 7 million because you lost now, and your stock went down. So I just don't know. I don't know why you would turn down 10 million. That is a really great purse. It is. I think it is. Well, maybe for me, because I've never seen $10 million, so I guess for me that's a great purse. I will take it, but again, I think Wilder's just trying to milk his belt. He's trying to make as much money as possible. Plus, you have to it's all about really confidence. If Wilder gets to, let me put myself in Wilder's position. Let's say I'm thinking, okay, if I get the 10 million, right? If I get the jackpot. Then let's say I knock out. If I'm confident in myself and I know I can knock out Anthony Joshua, I'll knock him out, right? I'll knock out this guy. Then if I knock him out, guess what? Now I have all the belts, man. I have, well, not all the belts, not Joseph Parker's belt, but I have the WBC, WBA, IBF, WBO championships of the world. So he has what? 3 belts, 3 out of the 4 belts. He's gonna be the A side. Now Wilder could be like, okay, now I'm getting 20 million. You want a rematch? Because there's probably gonna be a rematch clause. You want a rematch, Anthony Joshua? You gotta bow down to me. You and Eddie Hearn gotta do what I want you to do. You have to go to Bama because you know that this fight will probably take place because let's say the fight happens, they'll probably go to the UK, probably Wembley, right? Probably in a big open arena, right, with like 90,000 people, boxing fans, right, in a soccer arena or football arena, right? I believe you call it football in the UK. Yeah, you like in the US we call it soccer, and in the UK you call it football. But yeah, right. Then, but in the rematch, who knows? Maybe Eddie Hearn will be like, "Hey, you won, Wilder, but you'll still make more money fighting in Wembley." Or maybe Wilder, because he's the A side, he'll be like, "Hey, I want you to come to the Barclays Center," because I think Wilder feels more comfortable fighting in, obviously America, where he's from, and I think Wilder likes fighting in the Barclays Center, and I think he also likes fighting in his home state of Alabama. So he'll probably have the fight happen in Alabama, Bama for life, or even the Barclays Center. And then he'll get paid, like I said, 20 million. He'll have the high ground, and imagine if he knocked out Anthony Joshua again, or even better, imagine if he loses to Anthony Joshua. Let's say they have a rematch. Let's say he wins the first fight. Let's say he has a rematch, and let's say he loses to Anthony Joshua. In the rematch, he gets paid more, 20 million, because he beat Anthony Joshua in the first time, right? Well, let's say he loses to Anthony Joshua. Well, guess what? Now they're gonna have a trilogy. Now that's another big payday. Now in the trilogy, because Anthony Joshua beat Wilder, now they have a trilogy. Now, well, guess what, buddy? Now Wilder's getting another $10-15 million payday. So that's going to be 3 back-to-back paydays. The first time is 10 million. The second time is like 20 million because he won. And then for the trilogy, that's like another maybe 10-20 million. So after all is said and done, Wilder would have made close to $50 million plus, pay-per-view buys and all that.